Bunnies, and welcome back to another video. Now today's video is going to be some fun. I actually bought a bunch of sunflowers the other day, and you guys know what flowers do to my creative process. They make things bubble and just run wild up in my head, and I love to take photographs of my flowers, and you'll probably see clips in and out of this video, overlays, because I've got my kids quietly sitting in the lounge room. I'm doing my intros back to back so that I can get that bit out of the way, and then they can make as much noise as they like. So today's video is going to be a character development video, and I am going to show you 3 different characters that I've created, showing you 3 different ways to use the same element in different ways and have completely different looks, and to show you that simple shapes and things can create really cool funky characters. These will end up in your collage sheets. I can tell they're going to be favorites. I was drawing the prelim sketches while I had Sian here, and she's just watching me be an idiot, because when I don't think she's actually seen me come up with characters, when something goes right in my head, when the character is coming out and it's getting it's moving and playing and it's got sound effects, a soundtrack almost in my head as I draw them, I know I'm onto a good thing. So there were characters that I drew that were silent and soulless and dead, and I crossed them out. If they don't make noise inside my head, if I don't have a noise, if they don't have any life to them, if they don't speak to me, then they don't get expanded on. They just get laid to the side and I keep going. So I have 3 different creatures that we're going to create today. It's kind of like a tutorial, but kind of not, but I'm going to show you my creative process and showing you what to do with sunflowers. So this is the image that started it all. I took photographs of the sunflowers purely for my own purposes, because I like to have reference photos, and I was going to paint sunflowers with watercolor month and all that sort of stuff. But then I took a photo of more than just these, but these are the ones that stood out to me. And I was sitting at the dining room table and John was talking to me about something at work, and I was just half listening. I was not being a very good wife. And I stood up randomly and said, I have an idea, and ran off and got my camera. There will be a printable attached to this video. You will get a whole sheet of this set of flowers in different sizes for you to play along if you so wish, or you can just play with them in your journal, and the creature thing may do absolutely nothing for you. But it's just my way of showing you how I can go from having a bunch of flowers sitting on in my dining room to a photograph of some sunflowers to 3 individual creatures that look like just so much fun. There's 2 in there that just make me really happy and get my fingers want to twitch, and I want to draw them more, and I just want to play more. So you're going to see that come alive. So some of this will be sped up, obviously, because I need to draw them and I need to paint them and all that sort of stuff. Definitely will be a voiceover with step-by-step instructions, and to show you how you can create creatures using everyday mundane objects. Well, they're not everyday and mundane, but flowers just make my creative heart explode like confetti. It is crazy. Even doing this by sitting this on my journal. Let me see. What have I got? What have I got that I could... No, too big. Instantly, you have almost a robot. And then I could just put little legs on him, down here, little arms, and you've got a creature. That is the power of the picture and the sunflower, and you're going to enjoy creating some quirky little creatures with me using these sunflowers. All right, my loves, let's have a chat. Down below you will find this printable for you to print out for yourself. You can either use it for this tutorial, it's not really a tutorial, but like an inspiration Kickstarter, or you can obviously just use it in your journals if you want the sunflowers. I know there was a call for sunflowers. This isn't the actual picture from my journal that you saw in the it's not this one. This one will still be to come. This is actually a photograph of 2 sunflowers side by side that you can see probably more easily this way. I bought myself a bunch, or hubby bought me a bunch of sunflowers, and this sparked a whole sort of idea. about creating characters and seeing characters in your everyday life and having a single item that would spark a whole lot of different variations of creatures. I see creatures on a day-to-day basis. If I was to tell you how I see them or where I see them, I would be here forever. They are constantly popping up in my world. I'll see a mundane object and suddenly a creature in my head will start forming. So when I saw these two sunflowers sitting side by side, I definitely wanted to just run to them. I literally did, and photograph them on the spot in the position that I had them, because of the way that they look like a set of eyes when they are done like this. So what I did was I printed some of them out. Obviously I kept some together, which you'll see in a minute because I've already altered some. And I've obviously separated some as well. And that means that you can play with the dimensions of the face, how they look, smaller ones, bigger ones, them sat together. It is really a lot of fun to explore and experiment with these and just see what you can make. Obviously I'm going to show you 3 different variations of a monster using the same set of flowers, but you could definitely take this idea and run. This is what these videos are all about taking what I've given you, taking that spark and creating your own creative blaze. So I'm going to show you how simple shapes can turn into monsters and how using the same element you can get 3 completely different looks. Now I am going to draw them on camera. I've done prelim sketches to the left of me, so I know what I'm looking at, because I will sit there and go through the motions of drawing different shapes and seeing which work, which don't. And generally when I am creating monsters like this, if I don't hear something, I feel like I've mentioned this in the intro, but definitely just reiterating, if I don't feel like they are talking back to me, creating sounds, if I don't get any sort of life coming from them, I will scrap it and move on and start drawing another one. And that's definitely what I did when I was sitting with Sian, just sketching away and chatting, and suddenly I'd start, moving and sort of jigging around, and that's because the monster that I was drawing was giving me that sort of vibe. So I knew he would come to life. So that is where we are going today. So grab your journals, grab a piece of paper, print this out if you want to follow along. I will be coloring these guys in the Create With Me or the studio vlog, but I will touch on coloring and stuff at the end, because I just feel once I talk you through, because this will be a lot of talk you through this process, it'll be a really, really long video. So I thought I'd leave the coloring and stage to another part of another video, just to sort of keep time constraints down. Because sometimes I like to chat way too much, especially if I'm talking you through something. I will really just get right into it and keep chatting, but most of this won't be processed, it won't be sped up. So I thought I will have a part 2 to coloring your monster, sharing color palettes and all that. Actually, I may do that instead of putting it in a Create With Me. I'll do a part 2 on coloring and stuff for your monsters using watercolors and all that sort of stuff. So I will do that. That might be a little bit easier. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper. I've already cut mine out, and believe me, I hate fussy cutting. I hate it with the power of 1,000 suns. But I'm glad that I went to the effort, because it really does help you see different things by being able to move them around, especially if you want single eyes, like bunched together, or if you want separate. So I have one guy with them together as like this size, and then I have one guy with this size and one guy with this size, so you'll get to see them come to life. I'm going to grab a piece of paper so that I can start showing you how basic shapes can turn into monsters very, very simply. I've just got a really chunky pencil, so it's a bit easier for you to see, and I'll probably redraw these onto watercolor paper for the coloring in video, but for the sake of just showing you and giving you ideas and things, I'm just going to use some basic copy paper. So you can do these in your journal, you can do them on tip-ins or anything like that. I will probably have these guys included in your collage sheets, which means it'll be easier for me to do them on separate pages for the scanner, because my journal has got the hump. So now most of my journal stuff for your collage sheets cannot be done in my journal, because scanning it is going to be a nightmare. But let's start with this. I haven't fussy cut this yet, because I have done something to the original set of eyes that we will talk about in a minute. But when I was drawing, when I was getting ideas for this video, I was just having them cut like this and sticking them down on my page and seeing where I could take it. And definitely one of the go-tos and one of my rules for creating monsters is to keep them very simple. Keeping them simple, just, I don't know what it is, but I find the simpler my monster is, the simpler my lines are, the more endearing and adorable they seem to be. And maybe one day I'll explore having a more in-depth, more textures and things, but for now I really enjoy the simplicity of my little guys, and it's definitely one of my favorite things to do, is to just sit here and draw monsters. I'm going to grab my eraser out just so I can make sure that I'm not making a mistake, because a lot of these I have just drawn on the fly. Well, these three guys I drew on the fly. I think I had a couple of ones that I didn't want to include because they just didn't have a soul, basically. So circles are an easy thing. You don't have to be precise, you don't have to get a stencil out or anything like that, but circles were the first thing that I went to when doing this. And I would normally go from here and just do a shape of a circle like so. And then I would be like, oh, do I want to make that his face? Do I want to make his body? All that sort of thing. And then I started thinking about really big, sort of crumply big arms, and giving him arms that came off his body like so, kind of like almost like a little bodybuilder. And that's, I think, where I had in my head. And then I was like, well, I don't want it to just be his face, I want him to be an actual creature. And so this is where you come in and draw that little half circle in there, and then you instantly bring that half circle down, and you can do whatever you want with the legs. But I tend to just give them really simple legs because it's not something, this is not like fine art, this is just enjoying the process of creating a creature. And so you've suddenly got these big, sort of muscly, sort of Oompa Loompa-ish arms, like short and fat. And then you can do whichever kind of hands you like. I normally go for the sort of long finger-like things. It seems to be my sort of go-to look when I do these kinds of guys. And I don't make any proportions. I like to just make them very awkward and sort of monster-like. They're like that sort of, I want to say salad fingers, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. And then you can just erase these little lines in here so you can see that his arms suddenly come off his body instead of coming out, so they're part of his body there. And then you can do like little red little circles here if you want to color them and make them red. And then you're going to move these lines here, so suddenly that circle has become a full-fledged body. And I like to give little expressive things up here. Oh, you didn't even see that. Good job, Courtney. So little eyebrows, things like that. And then I always think about whether I want them to have like little cheek pops, and then a little nose, and then a like disgruntled face. Now he was the first guy that I started drawing and was like really in love with him. And you could give them striped legs, you can bring their legs longer, you can elongate their arms. You could take this in so many different directions. So you could have this shape, which is based on a circle, and have your arms out the side and your legs. Then you can then start morphing those things. You could have him a smaller circle, longer arms, longer legs. You can have a wider circle with really short arms and really short legs. And you can do all those variations. Obviously, I'm not going to do those on camera for you, but you can definitely sit down and take this one looking character with the same characteristics and change them up and get completely different looking things. Now what I did with his eyes, because I loved how they looked, but they just weren't giving me anything amazing, They were cute, but then when I sat down and got my white gel pen and I put some eyes on him, he completely changes how I see him. And I absolutely loved how that looked with the eyes. I just drew it in with a white Signo pen. I don't even have one here on me. Let me see if I popped it in this pencil case. Do I ever put the right things in my pencil cases? I don't even have... Yes, I do. I bought them in bulk. I've got bulk over here. So just give you a demonstration of that. So I have just done a almond shape, then a half circle. You want to keep a bit of that white out, so don't color in that little bit. You can obviously add that bit in if you want to. And then again, I've just gone around. Actually, I've just done the complete opposite to what I actually did, so ignore that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we've done this shape, white dot, and then I've colored in the outside of the eye with white. You could probably do both, but I tend to feel like this one looked better. And then doing lots of little squiggles around his eyes, like so. Obviously my pen's a little bit dry, but you can understand what I mean. And instantly your face is changed by adding those eyes onto those sunflowers. Now the colorway I have set for this guy was brown. Obviously my brown is missing. I have colorways set to the side, but my little brown concoction is missing. So I saw him as more of like a swampy, muddy puddle kind of monster. He just got that feel for me. I want him to have like browns and earthy reds and like speckles and things like that. So that was the color that I had put down for him. And instantly you've gone from having a circle to a full-blown monster in like 2 seconds. And it's very, very simple, and he will look super, super cute when you color him in and you cut him out. And there's not too many lines. I mean, these you could just not do, and you can draw them in on your journals if you wanted to, because obviously you're not going to fussy cut some eyebrows, but you can definitely put his eyebrows like here. You could leave them off completely. You can do whatever you want. You could push this down and have him like a completely squished circle, and then you have him up here. You've got a more rounded circle. It is really, really simple to alter these guys. And so that is number one. What I will do is tomorrow I'll have these scanned in and on a separate blog post just for the $15 tier, so you can see still shots of these guys in their sketched form if you need a helping hand. I don't think I'd get that done tonight before I go out to take Boo to the hospital, so I'll definitely have that up for you tomorrow. I'll sketch them out cleaner for you, not like this, and then I'll have them lined in black for you to use as a guide if you want to follow along exactly. But I don't want you to get stuck in exactly what I'm doing. I'm giving you guys jumping blocks, so don't feel like you have to completely copy me. If you've got the gist of what I'm doing and you want to take it and run, please do so. I would love to see you take sort of creative initiative on this. Of course, if you're feeling really stressed but you really want to try it, by all means do exactly what I do. And then once you've done exactly what I've done, then I want you to try some on your own, because I'm only going to get you so far before you need to leap out on your own and try and grow a little bit separately from what I'm teaching you. So let's move on to a square, shall we? Okay, for this one, we are going to focus on the separated middle-sized flower. Now you can get really creative with these because they can go from being really close together to really far apart. You can move them side to side. You could do what you want. You could even have a cyclops, but you could do what you wanted. So let's focus on the square. So I had them originally here, and I'm going to show you the same shape, but I'm just going to move features after I've shown you. So I would go with a elongated square. And then I'm going to scroll a bit in so you can see. You can add whichever type of ears you would like. My guy had this type. And then I elongated this bit. And then I decided I wanted to give him a grumpy mouth with some toothies. And that is very, very similar to the guy I did for your memory monsters. He was one of my favorites, still is one of my favorites. And then this is where we can play with our proportions. Now, I wanted him to have really, really short legs. And then you're going to pull down here, give him stripes. This is where you can play with your proportions. You can give them large legs, you can give them short legs. And then I pulled my arms from down this side here and this side here. And then I did long arms because I loved the idea of having really long arms and really short legs. Like so. So you're going to come here, which is around about the same side. Pull them from your legs. You can shape your hands however you like. I just find this sort of obscure looking and then you can like give them little knuckles, and then you give him a little nose if you want to. You don't have to. And then if you wanted to, you could literally take that out so it's all one singular line. Like so. And that is based around a square. And then you can have, by simply moving these to the side, you have a completely different look. And that is how I decided to keep him, because it was a bit different and it just worked better, I felt. I mean, this was how he originally was, so you can go from this to this in a matter of just moving your eyes simply over. You get a whole lot. It gives it a bit more emotion. He suddenly gets sort of that longing look, and it's a lot of the reason why a lot of my characters have eyes tilted to the side, because it just gives them more emotion and it helps you connect with them better. He's looking very longingly at something and then you're wondering what is it, and that sort of thing. Now you can obviously do really long legs, really short arms. You can have a really short square, really long square. You could do a different mouth feature if you wanted to. You could for sure not do the toothy grin. I just find that a bit more endearing that way, by having him, I don't know, I just sort of see him as like a little grumpy guy. I absolutely adore him. You could for sure change his feet. If you didn't want to have like little peg legs, you could give him like really long sort of talony feet as well. There are so many different factors with these guys. They are so customizable and you can change their emotions so quickly. But I'm using the same flowers as I did for the first guy. All I've done is separated them and shrunk them. So, where am I? You could obviously do the same thing. You could put these on him quite easily and he changes instantly. You could grab, where are my other two? The tiny ones, and put them up here if you wanted to. And suddenly he looks like, oh, what is that creature from is it Crom? And he's got like his hands with these eyeballs in it. You can have little ones. I prefer the larger ones on this guy. You can put them so close to his mouth and that changes how he looks. It is so crazy how simple little tweaks can completely shift how a monster looks, and their possibilities are absolutely bloody endless. I like them that shape. See, you could put them really, you can even cover his mouth and then he just looks like a cranky grandma. So, oh goodness me, that's a really cute combo. But you can see how instantly you've changed your look purely by moving these around, changing the size, changing the direction, and you've got an amazing plethora. You could make a whole entire book out of monsters. I should do that. Why haven't I done that? Just like a monster, what's that word? Like a document my monster? No. Like what is that thing called? Oh, I don't know. Illustrated encyclopedia of monsters. Man, I need to make that thing happen because that would be so much fun. But yeah, square. Done. The next one is not really shaped like anything, but it's one that I had a good time and sort of showing you how you can take a shape of an animal and give those features, simplified right down, and create a monster. All right, so we are going to take the aspects of a frog and a very simplified frog, and we are going to use these smaller sunflowers for this. Could definitely use the larger ones, and so I was doing little half circles. I had little eyebrows up here because I just think that adds to the cuteness. And then you've got your eyes, and then I wanted to do a little patterning here. All my monsters just look cranky and mad, but that's okay. That's okay. Monster Mash. And then this little guy had a really short body, but he also somehow got clothing because that's how I saw him. So I gave him a tie, like so. And then I gave him a little collar because if he's got a tie, he's got to have a collar. And then I gave him a little pocket. And I had little pens. And I had a little notebook in his little pocket. And then I made him very boxy, but like a short box with rounded edges, like so. And then you pull his arms like here and here, and then you can do your arms however you feel. Whew. Wrong shape. You want to do your thumb first and then little arms. There we go. Same with this guy. You want to do your thumb first and then your little arms, little fingers. And I didn't do any claws or anything for this guy. I just kept him super simple. And then I just gave him really short, boxy little legs. And obviously I gave him some socks because if he's going to have a tie. Down like that. And that was another one. Obviously the proportions are a little bit larger than my original. So this is the guy that I drew as a prelim sketch when I was drawing with Cyan. And so he looks a bit larger than this guy because he is. But you could definitely use the big ones if you wanted to make him look like he's got giant bug eyes, and maybe this will suit him better because he is of the larger frog-like, but also totally works with the smaller if you draw smaller ones. You could definitely put these ones on him if you wanted to. That also makes him look quite cute. You do almost lose his, you could cut out his frog-like looks and then he just looks like a really cranky toad, and that's okay too. But definitely you can put them like down here if you wanted them close to his mouth, and that way you could close these bits down here and put them here. You can put them down here. You could, doesn't really match there, but it definitely works inside here if you wanted to. But they are the 3 monsters you can now draw because I've shown you, and they are very simple lines. There's no massive lot of texture. It is all simple lines, simple shapes. This one's got a little bit more to do with it because it's got a tie and stuff like that. But again, they are literally, a tie is a square, and you don't even have to make it perfect. I'm drawing these really quickly so that you don't get caught up in, oh, I need to do it this way, I need to do it this way. And so your tie is like that, and then you have your collar like that, and suddenly you're ready to go. So I've tried to simplify everything right down to the basic shapes for you. You've got your little cheek pops, you've got a cranky smile, you could do a little nose here if you wanted. You can give him some markings like a frog, and I would probably paint those in. I wouldn't draw those in because his colorway, I was playing around with like a navy tie and shades of green and stuff like that. So I was sitting here trying to work out the colors so that when we do the coloring video, I will show you my thought processes and stuff like that for the coloring video. But I thought if I do this part 1, as in drawing and creating and showing you how I've just created, you know, 4 different monsters, 3 different monsters by, this is my prelim sketch for this guy. This was a failed one. Where's the other one? Here it is. Here. These were failed, and then I was trying to work out if I wanted to do squares, and they look like binoculars and stuff. You could do, that looks like a dog. You could do a cat body. So instantly you've given a neck and a body, and you're good to go. There are so many different shapes that you can do. It's definitely where you can't go wrong, basically. I'll probably outline these guys instead of the ones I've done for you on camera, because they're a little bit less, not rushed, but like they although I do really like the shape of this guy. We'll see, but I will definitely get these up for you in still frame shots so that you can have a look at them if you feel like you need a reference. But just pause it and stop it, and you will be a-okay with creating these monsters. And this is just one way that I look at something and can go, I can turn that into something. I can put that, like those flowers look like eyes, and then suddenly I'm creating monsters with sunflower eyes in all different variations and shapes. And that is just one aspect of my creative process. So I wanted to show you how I can take a set of sunflowers that are sitting on my dining room table, and suddenly I'm creating creatures out of them, and I can customize them and change them, and colors and shapes and body types and emotions are all just thrown into the mix, and the world is endless when it's creating. And this goes for anything, not just creatures. You can take one item and morph it constantly, and as you're doing all that, more ideas are going to come, because it's that domino effect that I'm constantly nagging at you about. The more you create, it's just the way it is. So that is it for today. We are now going to go into the next phase, which will be your Wednesday video, and that will be coloring in these guys, and I'll probably photocopy a couple of these to show you different ways in which you can color them and how color can change how you look at them, how color can show an emotion, all that sort of thing. And we can maybe do pencil colors and markers and watercolor. So maybe I'll do one in each medium so you can see a variation basically. So that is it, my loves. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you do, tell me what you think down below. Would you like more creature development videos? That would be good feedback for me if you liked this sort of style. Not really into it, but enjoyed the video anyway. Give me all the feedback, because this is something I haven't done with you guys besides the little line work tutorials that I did a little while ago. So if this is something you want to see more of in my creative process and my thinking and stuff, and putting it into practice and giving you creative kickstarters, then please let me know. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. And that is what I do when I'm doing pictures. If I'm doing, like, say, these things, they have been brightened up, made the colors really, really pop, so that they all sort of go together and help sort of support each other in the process. Now, because I'm doing a vintage inspired thing, I wanted my pictures to have a warm feel and feature a lot of the brown, warmer tones. So I've pulled together pictures that have that feel. I was wearing sort of a rust colored boot, Converse shoe, and Sian's got on brown